Hello, everybody, and welcome back to VolleyTalk. We are Powercore 360, and we are here to talk everything volleyball related. Today, we are going to do the topic assessing power hitting form or good power hitting mechanics. And how do you know if your mechanics are good or if they're not good? What are things to look for? And things like that. But before we get into that, I'll have Billy introduce yourself for anybody that may not know.
Hey, I'm Billy Glisson, Powercore 360 owner, founder, strength coach. Been at this volleyball thing for, gosh, almost 30 years. I sound really old. Feel really old. But here I am. Let's do it.
Yes. Yes, let's do it. So today like we said, we're going to play you guys some videos and we're going to talk about what do we see in this form? How can we see what's good about the form? Maybe what's not so good, and then how you can make those changes quickly to make your swing better. So I'm going to share the screen here. We're going to start with this video. All right. All right. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to let this play on repeat. Oh, maybe not. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to pause it right there. Right here. Okay, Billy, can you break down what is going on with this swing? What are some good mechanics you're seeing? What are
Sure.
some things you maybe want to change?
Yeah.
And
I
give
mean,
us background too, because obviously you know this player.
yeah. Well, this is an athlete I trained, just turned 15 as a sophomore at Fossil Ridge High School. So anyway, long story made short, this was her back in March of this year. Here's the first things I see, and I haven't seen this video in a while, is I heard the volume, I heard the pop coming off her arm. I see a very active, I see arm speed, I see ball speed, I can hear it. But if I was like really going to break this down, if someone had submitted this to me, here's the kind of the steps I would go after this. If you'll freeze that, Darren, right there, that's really good. The first thing I'm searching for, I don't care what position they're on the court, middle, left side, right side, back side, jump serve, who cares? If I'm looking for power hitting mechanics, the first thing I'm looking for is, does their chest as a right-handed hitter open to the right sideline? And so she's facing that ball on the hook, and that's facing the net. Her chest is wide open to the right sideline. And I know it is because I can see it. And we've spent a lot of time early on this year as a middle. That's what she plays right now, middle and right side, actually, in high school. We're really working on getting her chest open to the right side. So I'll stop there and take a breath there and let you respond to that.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely the first thing you can see. And I also notice here, I think this is a really good spot where you can look and see she has this very neutral line from her left shoulder here going all the way diagonally down to her right elbow. And usually what we see with a lot of players is this here, but then it goes up, right? We see the elbow come here. So I think that's something else that we're seeing with her mechanics.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you've been talking to Kelly. You were way in deep here, so it's good. There is her as a right-handed hitter, her left shoulder is higher than the right. If you guys can see me, that's what we're seeing in there. That's what you should see. There's a tilt with the right shoulder as a right-handed hitter being lower than the left. Right now, if you watch a little bit, that's going to change. But she's in a really good position there. Chest and shoulders are facing the right sideline. Let's let that play a couple times. Let's just kind of see what happens here.
Okay, and while we let it play, I want to answer a couple questions we got from socials. The first one is, how do we position our hand when serving?
Well, it depends on the serve you're hitting. Are you hitting a traditional like floater serve? If it is, then your wrist is stiff, your hand is stiff, and you're trying to just kind of hit like a knuckleball, right? That you would. That's not how we're teaching this athlete to hit. Typically, when we're teaching for a power hitting swing, trying to get top spin, we're trying to hit hard. We want the hand, wrist, and arm relaxed. And specifically, we want the right hand, if I'm showing you guys here, I want the right hand actually turned away from the body, right? If in perfect form, I would teach any athlete to turn the right hand away from the body, but the wrist is actually bent and it is loose and relaxed. Hope that answers that question.
Yes. And then the next question we have is, why she have all this stuff hanging on her arms, shoulders, and legs? So
Yeah,
you can answer
great
that.
question. She is training in our training system. So she has a torso harness on the bottom of her rib cage. She has a hip harness on her hips because we work on that right before she did these hits. She was in with the bands hooked to her torso harness, her hip harness. She's actually got an elbow and wrist cuff on. Those are where we attach bands. We turn on, we strengthen, we activate those muscles because those are all muscles around her elbow, her wrist, her shoulder, her core, her spine, her hips that we're turning on and we're strengthening with her, right? That she trains in. So that she's got all our training equipment on and we're just going through our protocol of warm off, activate the muscles, disconnect the bands, and we're actually probably have thrown already and we've hit on the ground and now we're going into hitting in the air.
Yes. Yes,
So
that
it's
answers that
training
question.
equipment. It makes her better, faster. It allows her to hit the ball hard and not tear up her shoulder, her back, or something else in the process.
Yes, for sure. So hopefully that answers that question. If you guys do have any other questions or comments, make sure you comment them and we will be sure to answer them. We have one more comment here. It says, looks like they use them to see if she is swinging correctly. Would you say
We
that's
actually, so we'll get real specific. We spent with Ella early on this spring as a middle, teaching her to be a middle, and said, we're not going to be that concerned right now initially with your hips and belly button turning from right to left. It's important, especially if you're an outside hitter. But as a middle, we're not going to worry about that, but we are going to be concerned with like getting your chest open to the right sideline. Because if you do that, you stretch your abdominal muscles. You're going to use your abdominal muscles to hit the ball harder. So for me, for her, or probably any middle I was looking at is, can she, actually any hitter, is she getting her chest open to the right sideline? And she is. And then you'll watch her as she take a couple more swings. You're going to watch her center of her chest, kind of the middle of her chest, go from the right sideline towards the left antenna or even left sideline. But in here, you're going to see her at least getting her middle of her chest turned over towards the left antenna. You can see she lands kind of facing the left antenna. That's what we want her to do. That means her whole body's rotating. She's going to hit the ball harder because her legs, her hips, her core, her arm, shoulder, everything that we want her to use is turning the body to create arm speed, ball speed, if you would.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm gonna stop the frame again while she's contacting the ball, and we can kind of break down what we're seeing in mechanics again. So there she's about to contact the ball. What are you seeing here, Billy?
The first thing I see her left leg kicked out to the side, which is very typical for young hitters, right? That's how she's actually rotating her body in the air. She's sticking her left foot out as a right-handed hitter. A lot of young hitters, I would tell you almost the majority probably do this at a young age. The left leg is out and it allows her body to actually rotate around and it allows her to stabilize and turn her body in the air because her feet aren't on the ground. She's turning her body in the air because it's using the left leg. That's not anything I want her to do. That's what she naturally does. That's something I would train out of her in time. I don't want her thigh going out or her thigh going forward. I want her thigh vertical, right? And down the road, we get talking about the reverse power C where we get the knees to bend up behind her. But this is common right now. And once again, where she was at when this was also in March when we shot this video, we're working on her opening her chest and shoulders and rotating to close her chest and shoulders, turn them from right sideline to left fast, and then that helps create arm speed, right? All right, second thing, since you're freeze framing there, is she has taken her elbow up to the ball. The elbow is a high elbow coming up to the ball, and then the elbow straightens, it extends, and here comes the hand, the wrist, the right hand, wrist, and fingers to contact the ball. This is where we do want a high elbow, the high elbow coming up right before contact, right? Now, this is something else since we said it earlier. Remember a few minutes ago, Darren, you were asking me and you highlighted the fact that her left shoulder was actually higher than her right shoulder. And I said it was going to change. If you look at her shoulders now, her right shoulder is now dramatically higher than her left. They've switched positions, right? And it's now tilted the other way with the right shoulder up, and it allows the shoulder, the right shoulder and hitting arm to move through, create shoulder torque, hit the ball hard, create arm speed, ball speed, and keep her right shoulder in a really safe hitting position, right? What a position we call stable or healthy. the tilting of the shoulders allows that right shoulder to work in that position. So don't go any further, Darian, but let's make a point on that. Make sure we put a period on that. But she's creating arm speed. She's creating really good mechanics, taking her right elbow up to the ball, straightening her elbow, forearm, hand, wrist, fingers, hands, going through the ball to create arm speed and ball speed.
Yeah, for sure, and another point too with the tilted shoulder here, so obviously she was tilted opposite in the beginning, and now she's tilted with her right shoulder quite a bit above her left. This allows the athlete to obviously hit the ball at a higher point rather than if her shoulders were even. So I think that's a point that a lot of athletes maybe haven't heard before, or maybe haven't been taught that when you do this lean and you're naturally going to reach for something a little bit higher than what you can, you naturally lean to your left and go to your right if you're right-handed, and your right becomes a lot higher so you can reach something higher. I think the same thing is going on here. Could you maybe talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, and I mean, I absolutely. It's a great catch, right? The right shoulder being higher to the left, it allows her to basically reach up, hit the ball higher, get the elbow up higher. Some people say get on top of the ball. Not that we necessarily love that term, but it is allowing her to do that, right? Um, really good. Oftentimes, though, I need to make sure people understand it's not a bad thing because sometimes people say, oh my God, they're tilting. Yes, they are. She's tilting from her right towards her left, right? And that's actually allowing her to rotate around her spine, create all this power from her core. And then, because once again, this is tilted, the arm, if you look at me right here, you can see with my shoulders tilted, right shoulder higher than my left, my right arm can stay at this shoulder level and swing through that. All right, to Darian's point, if I didn't, if I had my shoulders parallel to the ground like this, and I swung, if I'm a left side hitter and I'm coming on a left side approach and I swing, there's a really good chance I'll create all kinds of rotational power on my spine. And when I hit that ball, guess where that ball is going? Out of bounds left side, out of bounds my left side, right side for the defenders, right? I'm going to pull that ball out of bounds. So the point is, when we tilt, we get in perfect world, we would in the air, if we were looking behind her, kind of down the line, we would see in perfect world, her right arm would be over her left leg's way out to the side. But when she becomes a little bit more mature as a hitter, probably in the next year or two, we'll look at her and we'll see that her right arm is over a straight left leg, the left leg not being taken out to the side, but straight below her. That allows her to hit the ball harder, protect her shoulder, keep the ball with velocity inbounds, get it over the net, and hopefully get it to land on the court and not pull it out of bounds, if that makes sense. That's a lot. Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with all of that. I want to go a little bit further here to right after she contacts the ball. So this is the moment after she contacts the ball here. What are we seeing here? What are some things that maybe we're talking about mechanics that maybe we'd want to change? What would you want to change about that?
Well, the left leg once again bugs me, so I would change that first. Well, not necessarily first. I would change that. I want her. If you can see her right thigh there, her right thigh is vertical, and you can see her right knee is kind of up behind her. So I'd like the left thigh and the right thigh to be vertically, like where the right thigh is. Right, makes sense. I actually really like what's going on with her right hand and arm because we're teaching athletes the body's rotating from right to left as a right-handed hitter, but we want the hand going with speed through the ball and the right hand, hitting hand, going to the target. So as she contacts the ball, you can see her arm, her right hand and arm are extending out exactly in the direction the ball went across the net. That's going to create arm speed, ball speed, and that's also how you keep the ball. You direct the location of the ball. You get the ball to go where you want it to go on the court. Okay. So actually, that's really good. And if you play that, we're going to come back to and freeze frame this in a second. I want you to notice, oh my goodness, what just happened? Where did her right hand go? Oh, it went to her left hip. Well, in old school volleyball, that's like, oh, you don't do that. The right hand doesn't go across the body. Really? Because it does in every other sport in the world. When somebody throws a ball, hits a ball, or takes a tennis racket, hits a ball, throws a football, throws a baseball, throws a javelin, the right hand follows the rotation of the body and it goes to the left hip. This athlete has spent a lot of time learning how to throw correctly with arm speed, and then we go in the air with those same throwing mechanics, and we do the same thing in the air. This is actually how you hit the ball hard and protect your shoulder and your spine in the process. So her right hand going to her left hip is actually really, really good. I'm going to stop and take a breath there.
For sure. And I want you to kind of mention something. I know she's a middle here, so um you've told her a couple different things than what you usually tell maybe outside hitters, and
Yep.
you can kind of tell it here by her rotation on what rotates more than others. Can you talk
Yep.
about that quickly?
Sure. As a middle, we said to her, let's really focus this last spring on getting your chest and shoulders open to the right sideline and then closing them, turning them from right sideline towards left antenna, and get your arm in a really good slot, which it is, so that you're going to hit the ball hard. Because as a middle, it's like you may not have enough time, especially off a slide or something, to be able to completely turn your belly button and hips from right antenna to left. So let's not worry about that, but let's create power by using your chest, shoulders, and arms in a really powerful, dynamic way. That's what we're working on. And now I'm going to tell you the next thing. I think this kid's going to be a Division I outside hitter. Okay, even though they put her because she's 6'2" in the middle, I think this kid can go Division I and go to a really top school if she develops right, which I think she will. I would teach her then, like I do want to see as an outside hitter. I want to see more action in the air. I want to see her belly button turn from right antenna first in the sequence, which will bring her chest and shoulders through second, and then the arm will come through third. In the training we were doing with her this spring as a middle, we didn't care about that, right? We were just focused once again on the torso or the shoulder turn. But if I was working with an outside hitter, right, I don't care if it's right side or left side, or a jump server that's trying to hit a top spin jump serve, I want her to use her legs. I want her to use her hips and belly button to get more power, get a better sequence. But I wasn't worried about it with her in this case because she was a middle, training to be a middle at the time for high school.
Yeah, that's a really great point. So I want to share my screen and go to a different, one second, share this tab instead. This is a recent Instagram post that we have. You can kind of see here, I'm going to play it again. This is his initial, this is him at the actual clinic practicing, and then there's him at the end.
Yep.
Let's see if I can get this to, I don't think I can slow it down, but I can freeze it. I'm going to freeze it on his second swing. And lands on 2 feet. So we'll start with the first one here. He comes there and then watch his landing. So I'm gonna just let this video play so people can watch both the first one and
Cool.
the first swing and the second swing. But can we talk about the first swing to start?
Yeah, so the first swing actually, so the sequence everybody understands the proper way to train. It's not by jumping in the air and hitting a live ball or hitting a ball off the hook. On the ground, as you see him almost. When he starts now, right now he's hitting and he's got a band hooked to his right hip. He's a left-handed hitter and he's focused on trying to turn his body from left antenna to right with power and speed. The band, because it's hooked to that hip harness, right, is resisting his hip and belly button and spine turn from left antenna to right. So we're actually, for him to turn his body fast, the band is activating, strengthening, turning on the muscles around his hip, pelvis, and spine to do that. When the band comes off, right, when he goes up into the air right there, now those muscles around his hips and pelvis, they are on, they are lit up, they are activated, and when he goes in the air, the hips and pelvis and belly button turn fast and hard from left to right, his left to his right. And you see him, he's creating all kinds of ball speed, but the ball speed starts with the feet, the hips turning second, the hips turning the chest, and then the whole body bringing that left hand through with speed, arm speed, going through the ball with ball speed. That's why we train rotation. You can use all the power from the hips, the legs, the core, a lot of the big muscles and small muscles in the body when you turn to hit the ball harder with a lot less stress on the shoulder. So he's creating arm speed, but it starts on the ground with the band being on and kicking on those muscles. Take the band off, then go into the air and hit.
Yeah, for sure. I want to focus something on the first swing here too. Compared to the second swing, you see he completely lands facing the left antenna on the second
Yeah,
swing here versus the first swing you'll see in a second. You see he lands facing the net and on one
cool.
foot.
See if you can freeze the first one, not this next swing. This is the last swing. See if you can freeze the next one. Right here, let's see if you can freeze it once he lands. So what's happening here is there's hardly any, this is his initial swing, right? It says before using the Powercore 360 gear. We hadn't turned on the hips, the shoulder, the arm. This is naturally what he was doing coming into the clinic, right? And when he jumps in the air and comes down, his belly button's still facing the left antenna. In other words, his hip pelvis spine hasn't really rotated from left to right. So guess what? We don't get him rotated. He doesn't hit the ball very hard. He kind of lands on his right foot as a left-handed hitter. That's not a good thing to do. We're not creating a lot of arm speed or ball speed as well. But then we go through the activation in the bands, hitting the balls into the net, turn those muscles on. Then at the end, we go back into the air. Now maybe you can show the third one.
Okay, yep.
And when he goes through after this, so here's the activation. Band comes off. We go in the air, and you see, look at his legs. His hips and feet of legs are up in that reverse power C, right? He rips his hips through. He rips his shoulders through. And rips being a good thing. He turns them fast from left to right. His arm comes through with all kinds of ball speed. He hits the ball hard. And look where he lands now. Where's he facing? Right antenna. Okay. That means that gives away the fact that his body is rotated. That's a good thing. It's rotated. His belly button's turned from left to right antenna. That's our visual indication, right? That we can see, hey, the athlete's turn. If they're turning, you know they're rotating their body, and they're probably rotating like he is pretty fast. Arm speed is initially up. Ball speed's initially up. So they're hitting the ball harder, and they're doing it in a way that doesn't really stress the hitting elbow, hitting shoulder, left shoulder in this case. His whole body's working.
Yeah, and another thing I want to point out here too on his last swing is everybody always says you can't hit cross if you turn your body, and this is a left-handed hitter here hitting on the right side. And you can see here where his arm goes compared to where his hips are going. So his arm and his hand are cutting cross while his body is finishing towards the other antenna. So I think that's something to note for sure.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. I had the luxury, the benefit of sitting with Terry Pettit on Saturday and had coffee for about an hour and a half and got caught up. And Terry, if you don't know, is a Hall of Fame coach, coached Nebraska to a couple national championships. And we were talking about the rotation, and he was like, he said this, Jerry, which is to your point. He's like, the way you direct the direction of the ball is with the turn of the forearm, the wrist, and the hand, right? And the shoulder. So the body's still rotating. It's creating all kinds of rotation, but you're going to change the ball direction by what you do with your hand, right? The body still needs to rotate to create velocity, create power. But if you've got skills, you're directing the ball based on where you take your hand, where you take your wrist, your fingers through the ball. Do you want to take it to the 1 zone, the 5 zone, wherever you're trying to go? The wrist and hand will change that, but the body should be rotating to create the power.
Yeah, absolutely. So power again comes from not where your hand is following through or where you're contacting on the ball or just your shoulder. It comes from your whole body, and your arm being loose then creates that power on top of it. If that makes sense.
It does. We add the power from the legs, the hips, the core, everything added together to the ball harder than you can do with just your arm, by itself. And it spreads the forces instead of just being on the hitting shoulder, spreads it over the entire body. So you hit harder, you don't tear up your shoulder, your back, or anything else, right? Because you're using a bunch of big muscles that'll tolerate it much better than just your shoulder muscles.
Yes, absolutely. So that's great examples for videos, I think. I want to kind of break down here some of the key points that we talked about today. First of all, Billy, can you say to me or say to us, the viewers here, what are some of the top things that people should look for, parents, athletes, when they're looking at their swing breakdown to know whether or not they are using mechanics that are good for them?
Yes, good power hitting mechanics. So in really simple terms, are you turning? How would you know if you're turning? Well, are you turning your chest and shoulders, center of your chest and shoulders to the right sideline to open, right? If you're a right-handed hitter, we want you to open to the right sideline. Keep it really simple. That's number one. If you're doing that, And then you can close by either taking your chest and shoulders from right sideline to like left antenna. Great visual. That's what you're looking for. If you're an outside hitter, left side hitter, right side hitter, back row hitter, jump server, right? We want actually the whole body. We want to see you still open your chest to the right sideline as a right-handed hitter. Then we want to see your hips close, turn if you would, from your belly button turning from the right antenna to the left, right? Chest opens first, that's number one. Belly button turns from right to left antenna, that's number two. Those are like, that way we know your body is using your core, your chest, your shoulders, your hips, your buttocks, in addition to your arm, right? Your arm may not be in the perfect position, but if you make your body do that, I guarantee you will immediately hit the ball significantly harder. And then when you turn around and look at your coach or whoever you're working with, yourself, you'll be like, oh, that was so much easier on my shoulder. Yeah, because you're using your shoulder with the body versus the shoulder and arm by itself.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So that's I think the key point to here also is for players or parents or coaches that are wanting to see whether the mechanics are good or not that athletes are using. I think that the key is you need to be recording hits. If you're not recording hits, it's a lot harder to break down mechanics in a way of I can see the smallest thing that you're doing that we don't want to do, whether it's the leg split, because it just happens a little bit too fast to see everything at once.
Yes. Hey, and I'm going to make a special deal. You ready for this? On our website, powercore360.com, right? If you go on there, there's a little chat function in the lower right-hand corner. Here's what we'll do. For the first parent or athlete that uploads a video of your swing, we'll do an analysis for free on it, right? So go to the website, powercore360.com. You can go to any web page, lower right corner of the screen, a little orange button's going to pop up. It's going to ask for your name and your email and your phone number. Punch that in there, and you can upload a video of your swing, right? And submit that, and then we'll do an analysis. And if we have your phone number and text, right, phone number and email, sorry, we have a way to get back to you. We will tell us the name of your athlete, tell us the age of the athlete, boy or girl, doesn't matter. We'll do an analysis and send it back to you, right? How's that sound?
Yeah, definitely. That's something that's very rare. So take
Yeah,
advantage of this opportunity. If you want a swing analysis, make sure you head to the website, plug that video in, plug your information in, and you'll get an analysis of your swing, which
feeling really charitable today.
I
So
was gonna say. Well, okay, if we don't have any more questions, Billy, can you wrap up one thing for me? If you I'd ask what things to look for if you maybe don't have the best mechanics. What are some things that you could look for? What is a good sign that you're moving in the right direction towards good mechanics?
your body's rotating, but I'm gonna stop for just a second because we brought you into Ella's swing, which was really good. That kid we didn't tell you, that kid was probably hitting those balls almost 50 miles an hour as a 15-year-old, okay? Because she's trained this stuff for a couple years off and on, right? So that actually her mechanics were really, really, really good of what you're seeing that day. But it's not the common thing you're probably going to see with most athletes that haven't had any training. So let's maybe just touch on that, Darian, real quickly. The first thing that I typically see, and this is like rubber stamp, carbon copy, right? Old school terms for they all look the same. You send me a video of a 13-year-old hitter. I don't care where he or she plays on the court, but especially if we're talking about female volleyball players, here's what you're going to see. The right arm's going to go up. The right arm's going to go forward, probably high elbow, swing like this. There's probably not going to be any turn of the shoulders, any direction. It's probably not going to turn to the right sideline and certainly probably not going to turn from right to left. Guarantee you 99.9% of the time, there's no hip rotation either. So we're not rotating. We're not using the big muscles of the body. We're just using arm and shoulder, right? And the shoulders are level and they swing up, and then the right hand comes down on the right side of the body. If I told you a recipe to not hit the ball hard and a recipe to have shoulder pain or injuries, there you are. Don't use your whole body. Don't rotate your body, and put your right arm and shoulder in a position where the right arm's going above the shoulder instead of being in line with it, like what we talked about earlier. So that's a recipe for how to screw up your arm and shoulder, or how to hit like a, oh, do you hit, you don't like this term, weak sister, right?
Love weak sister. I love when you coined that term.
So I
No,
don't know if I answered your question, but
no, it
that's commonly what we see, and I almost guarantee it. Whoever's going to submit this video for their athlete, their son, their daughter, themselves, I almost guarantee you that's what I'm going to see because that's typically when kids come to the clinic, athletes come to the clinic or the master class. 99.9% of the time, that's what you see. You go to most qualifiers across the US, that's what you see. It's a rarity, right? And that's why it's so special when you see an athlete who can actually turn their body and hit. You're going to hear it, you're going to see it. It's powerful, right? And they're walking around pretty cocky, pretty, confident in themselves, like, I got this, right? They've trained it. That's why they got it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. It's not just you get in there and you can rotate your body and now all of a sudden you have good mechanics. It's going to take months, especially to transfer these mechanics from the ground to the air and then from the air in practice to the air in a game setting. I think that is the next level of yes, Ella was doing these mechanics off a hook, not even a set at this point. So what does it look like then to get to that next step of okay, now I can do this at the game level.
Yeah, so it's a good point. The next progression would be to you hit some balls, you activate in the bands, we do our activation on normal progression, you hit off the hook, then somebody needs to have someone's tossed and if there's no tosser there, we would have her, which is what she does when she trains with us, is jump in the air and hit a jump serve, right? Toss to yourself, because that's a skill you're going to need to have if you're going to be a good club player or college player. You got to be able to serve and do a jump serve. The ideal progression would be to have a setter, preferably somebody that can really set well, to start setting them the balls then after the hook so that they get used to the timing. And obviously, as you know, as an outside Division I hitter, ball's moving. When the
Mhm.
ball's sitting in a hook, it's not moving. So it's a lot easier. We can focus on the body mechanics. But now we go a little more advanced. The ball's moving in the air. I have to time my approach. I have to do a lot of things, and that's why you're doing it live. That's like the one of the last steps we would do is do the same mechanics in the air with a loose, fast arm, with body rotation, hit the ball hard, but adapt to a ball that's actually being set, that's moving in the air.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Okay, so back to my question. What are some things when parents or athletes are recording themselves? I know rotation and seeing the rotation, but what are some like key things that oh, that's a really good thing that I'm doing, you know?
They're rotating. They're not, and geez, I'm going to tell you the negative. They're not lifting their arm up above their head. So what are they doing? They're drawing their arm down. That shoulder tilt that we talked about, that you illustrated, the left shoulder being higher than the right for a right-handed hitter when they initially jump in the air. This right hand is actually coming down. You see my chin? My right hand and arm are coming down. Oh, look at my wrist. My wrist is relaxed. This whole thing is coming down underneath my chin across that shoulder line. It's not going up over my face, high elbow, because that's going to put all the pressure on the shoulder. I'm not going to hit as hard as I could, and my shoulder's not going to tolerate that. I want that arm and shoulder coming down underneath the chin, right on that line to open the chest and shoulders. Man, if you can do that, and you're going to have to train that, it changes the whole game. But be careful because a lot of coaches are going to look at that and say, oh, she's hitting that with a low elbow. Yeah, good. Fantastic. She's going to hit the ball harder, or he is, whoever's doing it, and their shoulder's going to function much better short term and long term, well past when they're done playing volleyball.
Yeah, that's a great point. So maybe look at that tilt, look at if you're rotating your body. All those are really good signs that you're moving in the right direction towards world-class mechanics.
Yeah. And maybe even when you get done, it's not just what you see, but watch your athlete's face and watch what they do afterwards. Are they rubbing their shoulder? Are they doing things that telling you or telling someone else? I got some pain. I got some discomfort here. Ask the athlete how their shoulder feels, how their back feel, because depending on your mechanics, your shoulder can get lit up. It can have pain. It can have injuries, as you know. You can have spine. You can have other stuff that's going on. Watch what happens and talk to the athlete afterwards. And this is getting off on the deep end, but here we go really quickly. Too many kids are hitting and they just assume that having shoulder pain and back pain is part of the game, and it's not. It shouldn't be. It is if you're using bad mechanics and you don't ever change it. Yeah, then it's common. Like I have pain every day. Isn't this common? It won't be. If you change your mechanics, you may find that all your shoulder pain and back pain goes away. You can pound the ball and your shoulder and back feel actually good.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where the point that we want athletes to get to is you're hitting the ball harder, you're more confident in your swing, and your body feels good at the same time. that's obviously the trifecta of how we want athletes to feel when playing volleyball.
Hey, here's one other thing you might think about. What does the ball sound like, right? When the first video you played today of Ella, we could actually hear when the volume was up, you could hear the ball coming off her hand. She was pounding it. So would every other athlete. So if you're a parent or a coach and you're watching an athlete and you don't hear any noise when the athlete hits the ball, right? That's not a good sign. If you can hear the ball coming, popping off the hand, won't sound that loud, but popping off the hand, right? That's a good sound. And we want the athletes to feel, right? Feel what they're doing and also hear what they're doing. Those are both really good things, kind of sensory things that they can feel or see or hear, right? That will help them know they're getting better.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. We have one question here. How do you train or keywords to get into a power C position prior to contact?
Um, it kind of happens naturally. We've had this discussion before. There have been times in the past where I would try to train it, but there's a progression, a methodology that has to happen. If you can get your athlete to open their chest and shoulders to the right, really open it and get their arm down below their chin, like we were just describing, and turn their hips from right to left, you will start to see the athletes without even telling them. You'll start to see their thighs start to come behind their body. The knees will start to come up naturally. I'm not talking about after 3 reps. It might be after a few days, a few weeks of them doing this. The body naturally starts to get into that position. It kind of self-optimizes, self-corrects, if it would, right? So I don't usually try to teach power C. I don't do it before an athlete has learned to open their chest and shoulders to the right antenna, close their belly button and hips from right antenna to left. Once again, we're talking about right-handed hitters. Those are the foundational things that have to happen first, and then the arm in a good position. Those three things happen first. Then naturally, some kids will start to get into the reverse power C. And if they don't, then that's usually something in the master class. We are cueing them live, right? When we're working with them saying, do this or do that. But otherwise, and we see this with parents sometimes. They'll see our videos about getting into the reverse power C, and they'll text us a week after the clinic like, well, she's still not getting in the reverse power C. Yeah, and she probably won't for 3 months. So you're in chapter 4. You're in graduate school of hitting. Quit worrying about that. Focus first on opening the chest. Second, hip turn. And then third, where's the arm going? Is it in a good slot below the shoulder and going straight through the ball? Do those things. The athlete will hit the ball hard. They'll hit the ball with hopefully a lot of really good control and take the stress off their shoulder and back in the process.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, power C position is a great position that we want athletes to naturally get to, but it's not something where it's forcing the athlete to get into this power C position where they're kicking their legs up to their butt and maybe not rotating and not drawing correctly. We'd rather see them draw correctly, rotate, swing with the elbow coming through high after, swing with their arm going through straight. I think those are all things that we want to see before seeing that power C progression
And
rather than forcing it up front.
And if you don't get the athlete to learn to rotate, to open and to close rotationally with the arm in a good position, once again, if you do those things, the body will start to naturally want to get into the reverse power C. If you don't, if the athlete's just lifting up their arm and going like this, I guarantee you what's going to happen. I've seen it a gazillion times. The arm's going to come up, the back is going to arch behind them, and then they're going to flex forward. And that's how they're going to use their core and the arm to hit harder, and they're going to have back pain and shoulder pain, right?
Yeah.
And you try to add a reverse power C to that, now you're going to even increase the arch in their lower back more, and they're going to have even more back pain. So it's like, that's where we come into play. It's like we know what to do. What are the right movements? When do you teach it? How do you teach it? When's the right time? And so all that says is know the methodology, know when to do it, how to do it, and that's what we do. In some of the clinics we touch on it, but certainly in the master class is where we really get into that. But
Yeah.
it's not the first thing we're teaching. That should be clear, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we don't want athletes just in a clinic, like we said, not opening up. Because if they're not opening it up, they're really not getting into a power C position anyways. If they're facing the net and kicking their legs and swinging with a straight arm, like you just said, that's not really the power C position. Even though their legs are making a C, it's not the power C position because that arm's not drawn to for the top of the C and their chest isn't open and all of the different things that really go into it before getting to that position. So, good question. Thank you guys all for the questions today. We had some great questions. We will be back next week at our regular time. This weekend, we are in Seattle for one clinic, and then we have another clinic in Denver. So, that is what Powercore 360 will be doing this weekend. So, if you guys want to see content from those clinics, make sure you follow the Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, and we will be definitely posting content onto all of those platforms from the clinic this weekend, giving you guys live updates. And then we will be back with another Volley Talk next week. We have some exciting topics in the next couple weeks, so make sure you guys stay tuned. It is usually Tuesday at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. So that is when we will be live again next week. And thank you, Billy, today for answering all the different questions. And thank you guys all again for all the great questions.